Good evening and welcome back. If you think national security debates are abstract or far removed from daily life, today's hearing was a sharp reminder that some of the most consequential decisions happen quietly in rooms like this one.
From Ohio, Mr. Turner.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for your written statement, and also thank you for your recognition of the importance of our nuclear deterrent, and specifically our investment in our modernization of our nuclear deterrent. We are behind, as you know, in the modernization of our nuclear stockpile. Your recognition of our investment in our triad and our command and control is incredibly important. Thank you also for your recognition of the importance of our future investment in missile defense and the importance that the Golden Dome will play. The Secretary General of NATO has recently made statements of his concern of Russia's future attempt to place an anti-satellite nuclear weapon into space. Specifically, he has said, "We are aware of reports that Russia is examining the possibility of placing nuclear weapons in space. This is very worrying. Space is also very important for our deterrence and defense, just as important as land, sea, air, and cyberspace. In recent years, space has become increasingly clouded, dangerous, and unpredictable. We know that competition in space is fierce. I recently had the opportunity to speak to him. He was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in my community as we were commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Peace Accords. His concern was that this is not getting worldwide enough of attention. We had General Saltzman recently in front of the committee. He has characterized that if Russia were to place an anti-satellite nuclear weapon into space, that would be day zero, that if that was put in space, that next day, that it would be irresponsible for us to count on space, that we would have to spend trillions of dollars and seek technology that we don't have to find solutions as an alternative to space, both commercially, for military, in really to redo what is really society today. As you know, it would affect both our nuclear deterrence, our efforts for missile defense, even our investments in Golden Dome. In this venue, obviously, we can't discuss all of the details of what we're doing, but I would ask if you would please confirm that this is a threat that is a priority to the Department of Defense, as it has been characterized by the Secretary General of NATO, and acknowledge that as it is a priority for us to prevent the deployment of nuclear weapons in space, and that it is a priority for us to work with our allies to uphold our commitment to the Outer Space Nuclear Treaty that prohibits the deployment of nuclear weapons in space. Sir.
Well, thank you for the question, sir. As you alluded to, there are a number of aspects to this question or answer that can't be discussed here, but I would underline our complete commitment to the space domain, to the hardening of the space domain, to prevention of escalations in the space domain, but most importantly, to the dominance of the space domain. I mean, it is the future of how we see, it's the future of how we sense, it could be the future of how our adversaries fight and how we deal with that. So I think President Trump, yet again, was ahead of the curve when he created the Space Force in his first administration. People said we didn't need it. We are relying on it every single day now to ensure, alongside the Space Force and private enterprise, that we're delivering the capabilities we need that are resilient, that are redundant, that are capable of all aspects of all domain warfare, if necessary. And preventing adversaries from gaining an advantage is a huge part of how we look at space.
This threat is not classified. Russia's threat of deploying an anti-satellite nuclear weapon in space is not classified. Obviously, this is a priority of the Department of Defense, and I just want your confirmation that this is a priority that you're tracking, and you too see that as a threat to the United States, and certainly to the United States and our space infrastructure, and certainly our whole national security infrastructure.
We track all potential escalations, yes, sir.
And lawyer here, I just want to help you out because people try to twist your words. You are not confirming in your testimony today that at the Pentagon there are plans for invading or taking by force Greenland, correct? That is not your testimony today.
All my testimony is that The Pentagon has plans for any number of contingencies.
It is not your testimony today that there are plans at the Pentagon for taking by force or invading Greenland, correct? Because I'm sure as hell hope that it is not your testimony.
We look forward to working with Greenland to ensure that it is secured from any potential threats.
Excellent. I yield back.
Congressman Mike Turner of Ohio opened his questioning by thanking Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth for something that rarely gets public attention: the fragile state of America's nuclear deterrent and the race to modernize it. And what followed was not just a policy discussion, it was a warning about the future of space itself. Before we go further, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss deep dives like this, because these issues shape the world far more than most headlines let on. Turner began by laying out a reality defense officials have been sounding alarms about for years. The United States is behind schedule in modernizing its nuclear stockpile. Much of the infrastructure that supports America's nuclear weapons dates back decades. The triad, land-based missiles, submarine-launched missiles, and strategic bombers, was built for a Cold War world, yet it still underpins deterrence today. Turner praised Hegseth for emphasizing investment not just in the weapons themselves, but in the command and control systems that make deterrence credible. Without reliable communication and decision systems, even the most powerful arsenal becomes meaningless. If this kind of context matters to you, hit subscribe now, because we break down what these words really mean beyond the sound bites. But the hearing quickly moved beyond Earth. Turner pointed to recent warnings from the NATO Secretary General about Russia's interest in placing a nuclear anti-satellite weapon in space. This is not science fiction. An anti-satellite nuclear weapon would not need to strike a specific target. A detonation in space could create massive radiation effects and electromagnetic disruption, potentially knocking out large numbers of satellites at once. Satellites that guide missiles, enable GPS, support communications, power weather forecasting, banking transactions, military operations, and even parts of the internet. Turner emphasized that space is now just as critical to deterrence and defense as land, sea, air, and cyberspace. If you're finding this eye-opening, subscribe and stay with us, because this conversation only gets more serious. Turner referenced conversations with NATO leadership during a visit to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where concern was expressed that the public is not paying nearly enough attention to this threat. The worry is not just about Russia's intentions, but about how unprepared the global system is to respond if norms are broken. Make sure you subscribe, because understanding these risks is the first step to holding leaders accountable. Perhaps the most striking moment came when Turner cited testimony from General Chance Saltzman, the chief of space operations. Saltzman has said that if Russia were to place a nuclear anti-satellite weapon in orbit, that moment would be day zero. What does that mean in plain terms? It means the day the rules of modern society change. From that point forward, it would be irresponsible to rely on space the way we do today. Militaries, governments, and companies would have to assume satellites could disappear overnight. Turner explained that replacing space-based capabilities would not be a simple backup plan. It would require trillions of dollars, technologies that do not yet exist, and a fundamental redesign of how society functions. If you want more explanations like this, subscribe now so you don't miss future breakdowns. This is where the conversation ties back to nuclear deterrence and missile defense. America's ability to detect launches, track threats, and defend against missiles depends heavily on space-based sensors. Even ambitious projects like the Golden Dome missile defense concept rely on satellites to function. A nuclear weapon in space could undermine all of that in a single move. Turner's warning was clear. This is not just about military advantage, it is about whether modern civilization can continue to operate as it does today. Communications, commerce, emergency response, and national defense are all intertwined with space infrastructure. Losing it would ripple through every aspect of life. As the hearing made clear, this is not a distant hypothetical. It is a strategic debate happening right now with consequences that could shape the next century. And yet, as Turner suggested, it is not receiving the level of global attention it deserves. That's why conversations like this matter, and why staying informed matters. If you found this report helpful and want clear human explanations of complex security issues, subscribe to the channel and stay with us. We'll keep breaking down what happens in these hearings and why it matters to all of us, not just the people in the room.